it's always a male attorney, older,
always males,
will say either I'm combative or aggressive just because I don't agree with them.
Immigration, it really started taking a toll on my mental health.
I've entered my I don't give a crap era. Welcome to Verdicts Vogue. My name is Cristina Perez, and I'm here today with Erica Gelfand. Welcome.
Hi, Cristina. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Hi. So as it's customary, cheers to you.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm excited about today because this was an impromptu podcast, right? So
Yes.
I actually was on the phone with you last week talking about a case, and then the conversation kind of spawned off onto its own little thing about what women go through, and and especially younger lawyers when they are being faced with adversaries who are kind of condescending. And then we said, you know what, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming here on short notice and saying, hey, let's go.
Let's do it. And I was pretty passionate on the phone call. I'll try to keep it down a notch today.
You don't have to keep it down. Just be yourself.
For sure.
Because I've been through it. And, I've been through it. The term that is always called of me is aggressive. When attorneys, usually male, it's always a male attorney, older,
always males,
will say either I'm combative or aggressive just because I don't agree with them.
Right.
And so it took me a long time to realize, because a lot of times I used to bring it back, and now I just don't give a crap. But I'm also in my 40s, so I think that's kind of my new era.
Yeah.
Like my daughter, who is now entering her double-digit era.
Double digits, yes.
On Sunday, I am now I've entered my I don't give a crap era. So, but you are, I think, how long have you been practicing?
So I graduated law school in 2011, and then I'm the idiot who goes back for more school after law school.
I saw you did an LLM in international.
None of that panned out. I now have just a very expensive piece of paper that hangs on the wall that I do nothing with. But
I have a master's that went back to, and it just doesn't.
There was a plan. It just, never panned out. And I've learned in life that when you do have plans, they never work out. So you just kind of.
It depends. I think that we're always where we're supposed to be.
Oh,
right?
For sure. Yeah, for
and
sure.
I'm sure you learned something from your LLM was in what, international?
It was in international and comparative law. The plan was I wanted to work for the UN. That was.
Can you tell me what international and comparative law means?
Yeah. So the law that we use here in America, it's actually only the US and the UK use common law. Okay. So everywhere else, Europe, South America, they use what's called. I forgot what it's called, but it's just a different format.
Sure.
They don't have precedent, which is crazy. So
what do you mean?
So you can have one case that was decided one way one time, and then that same set of facts can be presented again, and it'll be decided a whole different way. Like
that would drive me crazy.
Yeah, they don't have precedent. So yeah, I just wanted to learn that different, way of law being applied. And again, the plan was to work at the UN and just never worked out.
So tell us what your practice is now, because you've also recently gone out on your own a couple years ago.
No. I've been on my own since 2013.
Oh.
I hung a shingle like pretty much right out of school. But my practice, what's changed in the last few years is I've pivoted to a new area of law.
Okay, then that makes sense, because
I
was
doing immigration for a very long time. And that just is not a fun area of law to practice.
So my sister is an awesome immigration attorney, and she's been doing that since probably 2010. Right off the bat. And that's tough. It's a tough
hard.
area.
You're connecting, you get so close to these families, and the consequences in that area is it's so huge. And the reason why I even switched to begin with, because that was always going to be my plan, immigration. Actually, I also wanted to do like human rights, social justice kind of stuff. And the reason I went into that is I'm actually the first in my family. My brother and I are the first in our family born in America. My family came over here from the Soviet Union as refugees.
Really?
Yeah, in 1979. So, and actually the organization that helped bring my family over here, I worked for them for a time.
So tell us about that, because I find that interesting.
Yeah. So it was so in 79, my parents came over here from the Soviet Union as Jewish refugees. Okay. And the organization that helped them was called the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. And they just kind of helped, because these people escaped the Soviet Union with nothing, so they were just kind of helping all the refugees get housing and just kind of get set up. And when I was in DC, that's where I was getting my LLM.
Did they settle in when they came to the United States? Where did they land?
They went to Los Angeles.
Okay. I was going to say Arizona would have been.
No. Yeah. I was born in Los Angeles, but I grew up here. We moved here when I was like 5. So, but yeah, I worked for the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society for a little bit when I was in DC. That's where I got my LLM at GW in DC. So that's where I lived for a little bit. And it was interesting because whenever they'd have events, they'd be like, this is a product of our work. We brought our family over here. So, and that just seemed like the natural direction for me to go. But it's just immigration. It really started taking a toll on my mental health. So
it's tough. My sister started at the Florence Project, which helps.
They're great.
They're amazing. And they help children, with their immigration status. And so I wasn't aware of any of this because I tried not to do all that. I think that's a very tolling type of work. And I wasn't cut out for that. So when I started, I was doing bankruptcy, which has no emotion, right? Which is right up my alley.
Right.
But well, not now, but at that time. And then she was doing immigration law with the Florence Project. And it's really rewarding work. Doesn't pay nearly enough as it should.
No.
But she started putting together young kids who were found crossing the border at 3 years of age with like just a random person, not their parent.
Right.
And then have to try to find
them like a setup here. Yeah.
Exactly. And so she had to do that. And she did that for a while. I think at that point it got to be too much for her. So she ended up leaving the Florence Project, getting a job at an immigration firm.
Okay.
But when I just hearing the stories that she went through, I know that
and it's not a well-known fact, but because immigration court is not considered criminal, it's civil, you don't get a right to an attorney. So these kids will go to court by themselves and they're expected to testify by themselves and not have any kind of preparation. And they're
little. And they're little. And they don't know the language.
I had one of my cases from, I want to say like 10 years ago, she came to me. She came here legally and then she was ordered removed, or she signed a voluntary removal when she was 8 years old.
Whoa.
I know. And she never
assuming...
left, right? So then when she came back to me, she had come back because she had married a U.S. citizen at that point. She'd been here for such a long time. And she was just curious, can we do something here? And I remember we got really lucky because the judge who she had gone in front of for that initial removal order was still practicing. He was about to retire, and he was one of the kindest immigration judges. Like, everyone knew when you had a case in front of him, like, you were lucky. So we were one of the last cases he heard because I had to do a motion to reopen the deportation case, say, hey.
From when she was 8?
From when she was 8.
Oh, wow.
Close this up. She has a U.S. citizen spouse now. We can adjust her. And I remember the government attorney was like, well, she knew what she was doing when she signed. And I was like, she was 8. What the heck? So that's the crazy.
It's appalling to hear that.
Yeah, it's crazy, the cases that you come across. And it really does take a toll on your mental health.
Sure.
And
so then you pivoted from that.
Yes. Well, so what happened was, so with immigration, when you bring one person over, you're bringing their whole family over, right? So my clients ended up all being mostly Middle Eastern. And in 2017, when Trump signed that first travel ban overnight, I couldn't bring people here.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And actually, when he signed it, I had just found out I was 8 weeks pregnant. It was just like the craziest time. And I had 5 families all in different forms of flux. One family had visas in hands and they were on the way to the airport when he signed it and they were turned away from the plane. Another family had just had their interview and they were told that they were approved, but then he signed it and they got a call saying, come get your passports. You're not getting your visas. And everyone's looking to me for answers.
Wow.
And I have no answer.
So what do you do in that situation? Or what did you do in that situation?
I remember I would find, because with consular processing, these are cases that happen at consulates. I can't be flying out to Turkey and, so you put a lot of trust in the clients. You prep them really hard and say, all right, go forth and conquer. But when that started happening, I started to try to find attorneys out there to go with my clients because I just didn't know what they were going to be doing. And the last family affected by that, one of my families, I was able to just get them out here in 2022.
Oh, wow.
So it took that long. And that's when I kind of stepped away because that was the beginning of his first term. And I was like, I just kind of see the writing on the wall. This is going to be a crazy 4 years. Sure. And I, again, found out I was pregnant. So I actually stepped away from practice altogether. I just
you did?
Yeah, it was too much. It was a lot of tears. It was staying up all night to talk to people in the Middle East and just, I was not in a good headspace. And I was, I wanted to do the stay-at-home mom thing for a little bit just to kind of clear my brain. And then
I think that's harder work than actually being an attorney.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember when I first got pregnant, I was talking to my mom about it, and I had this idea in my head. I'm like, he's just going to be sitting here in his little bouncer and I'll just be typing away and it's fine. And my mom's like, you should find a nanny. So that whole plan went to, didn't work out.
So it depends I think it depends on the child too, because like I have two, and I have the one, God gave me my daughter first, which allowed me to want a second. Okay. If he would have given me my second first, it would have just been one. Yeah. Because he was crawling out of everything. Yeah. And he was like throwing himself out of the crib. He was like throwing himself out of walkers. I'm like,
my son he was relatively easy. I think why we didn't want another one was because I then kind of pivoted to building my business back up again. Okay. And
what made you think, okay, this is it? I know you did the stay-at-home thing, decided, okay, I miss practice of law.
Yeah. So I would still, when I say I stepped away, I would take like a case here and there, just easy ones, just to kind of keep my brain fresh but I mostly stayed home.
To kind of break from the routine of like the nursery songs that they play on YouTube.
Well, because then my parents are also snowbirds. So I lost my mom at one point because they were going back up north for the summer. And she's like, you need to find a nanny because I'm not here to help you. So then we found a nanny and that was all good. But what made me go back.
How was your nanny experience? Did you have a hard time vetting your nannies? I'm looking over to my crew over here who's behind the glass because they remember
looking for one.
my venture. I had a like Venezuelan Mary Poppins.
Okay.
And she was my kids love her. They still think of her as a grandmother today. Yeah. But she was probably the most difficult person I have ever met in my life. Like, yeah. Her and I were like, we just didn't get along.
We got really lucky. I still love her. She's still like family to us now too, but we haven't needed her in a long time. But she was the first person I interviewed on care.com.
Really?
Yeah. And my mom was like, because she set up an interview and I, at the time, was like, what do I ask them? I don't even know. Like, can you take care of my kid? And my mom's like, I'm going to come with you. I gotta just see her and feel it out. And we went to the interview and my mom's really big on just like vibes and stuff. And we went to the interview and when we left, she's like, she's the one, she's good. Yeah. And she was awesome.
And this is a common thing. I mean, I know for women that are working, right? Yes. And then you decide to have children and you're planning, that's a big step. Like, so for me, when I was starting and I had Eva, I went back to work 7 days after having her. It's crazy. Yeah. I went back because my partner was like, well, if you're going to be a business person, you have to be a business person. There's no room for a business person and a mom. And so he kind of pressured me in a way to go back to work really fast, which I regret. But in that whole step, Sophia, who's sitting there in the black with the Perez logo on, she was the one that's actually interviewed and was trying to get referrals because I was so afraid that someone was going to kidnap my baby.
I know.
And it was just, it's like a tough situation. Like I had her license plate taken. It was the worst.
You kind of have to trust it. You know, I think when you have a kid and you are working, you have to make sure you have a good village around you. And that's what I was working hard to build up, is just that village. And this nanny, she was awesome. We would take him to her house and I could just go freely, do what I needed to do that day and then come grab him. So, and then when school started, we threw him into school as soon as we could. So that was nice too.
And that makes sense. That makes sense. And it's something that, believe it or not, I mean, I hear about that all the time one of the questions that I frequently get, how did you do this? Or how did you balance this? One, I have a great husband who really carries a lot more than I do when it comes to the kids. Yeah. But then two, I also had support from people. So I think that's really important.
It is. It's very important. And I think there's the fork in the road for women where you have to decide, are you going to keep working or, are you going to do the mom thing full time? And that's, I think as business owners and attorneys, we worked so hard to get to where we are and to get these diplomas and licenses. It would just kind of suck to have to not do that, after so much work. So yeah, it was good. But my husband was definitely, he's still to this day, they're like the two of them are like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And I'm just over here like the bad cop. I'm always the one with the bad news and I'm always saying no.
I'm like the enforcer. So they know. They like I think my husband uses that. He's like, I'm going to call mom.
Yeah, that was
like, stop saying
my
that.
favorite story is like last year, Logan, I guess, had hid his iPad under his pillow at bedtime, and I didn't notice. So I was like, okay, good night, and I left, and then my husband goes in after. He usually does good nights after I do my good nights, and I hear them whispering, and he's like, you have to tell her, and he's like, I don't want to tell her. And I like pop my head and I'm like, what's going on? And Kevin, my husband, was like, he hid his iPad on the pillow, but he doesn't want to tell you. And I'm like, you are also a parent. You can tell him that he shouldn't do that. And he's like, no, I'm the one parent. You're the one who has to come in here and tell him.
I get that. That annoys me though.
It annoys me too. I'm like, you're also the parent. You can say no, but it's okay. We're working.
My daughter was like, don't tell Mom. My husband's like, we have to tell you.
We have to tell Mom. Yeah,
we have to tell Mom.
That's how it is for me. And actually, when I say that I stepped away from practice, you had mentioned going back to work 7 days after. I had my first immigration trial 3 weeks after I gave birth.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So because with immigration, once you start something, it takes so long for things to kind of get around. So even when I wasn't taking new cases, I still had my old cases that I had to. So I could never really truly step away because there was still work to be done.
But then when you decided to go back, in a different capacity.
Yes. So
and when was that? When was that you started?
That was in 2019.
Okay.
2019 was when I was like, okay, I'm ready to go back. He had been in school full time. We realized that school was working and he was okay with it. And I finally had the time to do it. And the reason I went PI, because I don't remember if I ever told you, but my dad owns a chiropractic clinic. So
you did.
I grew up in the back of a chiropractic clinic my whole life. And it was my dad always in my ear from like day one of law school. He's like, take accident cases.
Go,
and
Dad.
I'm like, I know. And I'm like, no, Dad, no, stop. I'm going to help people. Like, I'm the social justice kid. Come on.
I think we help people.
We do. But I think
cases.
I didn't quite understand it at the time. And so, and to me, you know, I was one track mind, immigration. I have to help people come over here. But
okay, fair.
He made me promise him that if any of my clients came to me with an accident, that I would just try. And if I didn't like it, then never do it again, but just try that one and see how it goes. And I liked it. And it was, you know, I liked the process. I liked being able to talk to adjusters and negotiate a settlement. I realized there was a lot of the process that I wasn't knowing about when I was saying no. And it was helping people. That's what I ultimately realized is this is a different way to help people. So,
and I think that's like the main point, because when we're in law school, no one really tells us about
no one
even teaches us
when you graduate law school.
They don't even teach us how to scan.
No,
I remember getting out of law school and I had no idea how to use a copy machine.
All I knew how to do was to outline cases. That's all I came out of law school doing.
And so you know, and there's a people component of this thing. And so I always thought, okay, criminal law, I wanted to be a prosecutor. I wanted to, and then and then immigration is on my sister. And so so we had that mindset. And so I ended up doing bankruptcy first and then ended up going to personal injury probably about 2017, 16, 17 is when I decided to pivot, but I had already established myself in the bankruptcy world.
Okay.
And
was it similar that just somebody came to you with an accident and you
know what? Yeah. Okay. That is it. Someone and it was I started on like it was a facility case. Someone had was at a day treatment facility and they ended up letting him out. He was a severely autistic child, a young adult, and he ends up leaving and ends up getting hit by a vehicle. Okay. Had no insurance, but he had one-on-one services. Okay. And that means that he's supposed to have someone at arm's length
to like watch him.
Watch him at all times. And they did not. They just freely let him go.
Okay.
And it wasn't the first time. So that was my first case right out of the bat.
Wow. That's a big one.
It was a huge case.
Yeah.
And then from there, I kind of just, at that time I was managing a firm of, I don't know, it was like 25 of us. And so with my partner. And from that point on, I just kind of started taking those types of cases. And so I did facility cases and like med mal cases and some pretty some product liability cases before I even did a red car blue car case. I don't think I did my first red car blue car case till probably 2018.
Okay.
Which I was like, it was like this is I got this.
This is the meat and potatoes of it. Yeah.
So I was used to doing the litigation. So I started on the litigating portion first. And actually I remember that I had a lot of, it takes a village even, to grow a practice and I leaned on people who had a lot more experience. So I had great mentors. And then I really learned a lot from paralegals who had experience.
Yes.
And I was always the type of person that takes suggestions and takes advice.
Yes,
I am not too big for my britches. I am the first person to be like, I don't know. Please help me.
I need at least 5 opinions before I do something. Like, I just, and we've grown to realize that this is how I am, but I need to hear, I have such a humongous mentor network, and I don't know what I would do without them. And you're, our conversations too. I'm so appreciative that you take these calls of mine every so often where I come across something that's just kind of, I haven't done it before.
Erica, I will always take your call.
Thank you.
From any the little things that we've spoken about to getting into arguments with defense counsel.
Yeah.
In part 2, this conversation gets very real when bias shows up face to face and you have to decide how to respond. That's next week on Verdicts Vogue.